Why did the prayer addressed to the Archangel Saint Michael, thus this particular archangel, and which was instituted by Pope Leo XIII at the end of the 19th century, have such a great efficiency? So let's first recall the story of this prayer. Pope Leo XIII, at the end of the 19th century, saw the demon who asked God, a century, to destroy the church. And God allowed him, gave him that permission. Revenues of his dream. Leo XIII was upset. He decided to institute in the Catholic Church a special prayer addressed to the Archangel Michael, Prince of the Celestial Legions, and which would be said at the end of each Mass. So there is a short version and a long version of this prayer, and I will read the short version. Saint Michael Archangel, defend us in the fight. Be our help against the malice and pitfalls of the devil. May God make him feel his power. We beseech you, and you Prince of the heavenly militia, drive back to hell, by divine force, Satan and the other evil spirits who roam the world in order to lose souls. So be it. The longer version develops this aspect that gives St. Paul to know that, our real enemies, it is not the beings of flesh, it means those who do us harm and who are humans on earth, but they are, says St. Paul, the powers, the principalities of the world of darkness. It means all the demons that influence men to do evil on earth. In fact, it was found in the exorcisms that this prayer was particularly effective against the devil. And when one still wanted greater efficiency, it was necessary to bring a prayer to the Blessed Virgin Mary. All the exorcists know it. Pope John Paul II on Good Shepherd Sunday, April 24, 1994, recommended this prayer. And even if it is no longer read at the end of the Mass, he recommended the faithful to use it often. So, of course, the faithful, who do not know the whole history of this angel, say that prayer itself is effective, and therefore by obedience and without really understanding the meaning, they pronounce it. In reality, it is not materially the prayer itself that is highly effective, but it is the person to whom it is addressed. Saint Michael the Archangel on one side, and the Virgin Mary on the other. To understand this, one must remember the story. What happened? Namely, the revolt of the demons is a revolt based on pride. He refuses this new order instituted by God, and which makes the youngest become the greatest in paradise. They who are intelligent beings know that there will be human beings, especially women. Because their general psychology is all the more oriented to the gift of life, the gift of love, rather than the vanity of having a great career on earth. They know that men and women will take a greater place for eternity with God than they do. And so they refuse to serve. It turns out that an angel, small, a simple archangel called Michael, and I'll explain why, was the first to resist this argument. So powerful demons. It happens at the very beginning of creation, obviously. And Saint Michael, in the face of this immense revolt, said simply by a word that he addresses from his humble place simple archangels, while Lucifer is a resplendent cherub, he addresses this: you say, you, that you rebel against this plan of God for the honor of God, for the love of God. The reality is that it's your first place, that you do not want to lose. Who is like God, for you to resist him? Who is like God in Hebrew is said and lt, Michael and gt, whose name is Archangel Michael. Thus a very little angel who usually never addresses his higher angels since they are much more intelligent, has riveted the nail of Lucifer's pride for the first time. In addition, the second pit that has occurred in the history of humanity is a little girl of 4, 5, 6 years called Mary. This little girl had received the grace of Eve, to be Immaculate Conception. And so the demons, realizing that they could not approach her to drag her from within, to make her fall back into sins of selfishness, demanded from God the possibility of approaching her from the outside, and to speak to him about the grand project of supreme freedom, to choose the good and the bad oneself. They did it. They had fallen Adam and Eve, and all the human beings who followed them very easily into sin. And for the first time, for a human creature, this little girl heard the demons well, she was well forced, they appeared to him visibly. But she did not listen to them. She plunged her soul into the love of God, all humble and all love, whose closeness she had because of her grace. And that, it had never been seen. So, because of humility, Saint Michael, because he obeys God, without understanding. The test was terrible. They lost their place of first place, these angels, in favor of little less intelligent beings. And the Virgin Mary, very little girl, for the first time crushed pride the demon. So it's the humility that won in them. So obviously as a result, it is clear that if God wants to understand how much humility has a great place, with love of God and neighbor, it is obvious that he will give a particular power to the power of the two people who first showed the place of humility, Saint Michael the Archangel and the Virgin Mary. That is why this prayer, it is necessary to do it and to remake it, and especially to imitate their behaviors, because that is the goal. It is not materially to recite the prayer. Experience shows that when a person renounces all pride, in his first place, that he behaves totally humbly, his prayer is totally answered by God. So that's what needs to be developed.